A Classical Student by Anton Chekhov. Before setting off for his examination in Greek, Vanya kissed all the holy images. His stomach felt as though it were upside down. There was a chill at his heart, while the heart itself throbbed and stood still with terror before the unknown. What would he get that day? A 3 or a 2? 6 times he went to his mother for her blessing, and as he went out, he asked his aunt to pray for him. On the way to school, he gave a beggar 2 kopecks, in the hope that those 2 kopecks would atone for his ignorance, and that, please God, he would not get the numerals with those awful 40s and 80s. He came back from the high school late, between 4 and 5. He came in and noiselessly lay down on his bed. His thin face was pale. There were dark rings around his red eyes. "Well, how did you get on? How were you marked?" asked his mother, going to his bedside. Vanya blinked, twisted his mouth, and burst into tears. His mother turned pale and let her mouth fall open and clasped her hands. The breeches she was mending dropped out of her hands. "Well, what are you crying for? You failed then?" she asked. "I am plucked. I got a 2. "I knew it would be so. I had a presentiment of it," said his mother. "Merciful God, how is it you've not passed? What is the reason of it? Well, what subject have you failed in?" "In Greek." "Mother, they asked me the future of Pharaoh, and instead of saying oisamein, opsamein, and then there's not an accent, and if the last syllable's long, and I got flustered, I forgot the alpha was long in it. I went in and put the accent. Then Anton Chekhov told me to give me the list of the enclitic particles. Well, I did, and I accidentally mixed in a pronoun. I made a mistake. So he gave me a 2. I'm a miserable person. I was working all night. I've been getting up at 4 o'clock all this week." "No, it's not you, but I who am miserable, you wretched boy. It's I that am miserable. You've worn me to a thread paper. You Herod, you torment, you bane of my life. I pay for you, you good-for-nothing rubbish. I've bent my back toiling for you. I'm worried to death, and I may say, I'm unhappy. And what do you care? How do you work?" I do work. All night, you've seen it yourself." "Oh, I've prayed God to take me, but he won't take me. A sinful woman." "You torment. Other people have children like everyone else, and I've one and only with no sense, and no comfort out of him. Beat you? I'd beat you. But where am I to find the strength? Mother of God, where am I to find the strength?" The mama hid her face in the folds of her blouse and broke into sobs. Vanya wriggled with anguish and pressed his forehead against the wall. The aunt came in. "So that's just how it is. Just what I expected," she said, at once guessing what was wrong and turning pale and clasping her hands. "I've been depressed all the morning. There's trouble coming, I thought, and here it's come. The villain, the torment." "Why are you swearing at him?" cried the aunt, nervously pulling her coffee-colored kerchief off her head and turning upon the mother. "It's not his fault. It's your fault. You're to blame. Why did you send him to that high school? Oh, you're a fine lady. Do you want to be a lady? I dare say as though you turn into gentry. But if you'd sent him as I told you to business, to an office like my Kuzia. Here is Kuzia getting 500 a year. Well, 500 rubles is worth having, isn't it? And you're wearing yourself out and wearing the boy out with this studying. Plague take it. He's thin. He coughs. Just look at him. He's 13 and he looks no more than 10. No, Nastenka. No, my dear. I haven't thrashed him enough. The torment. He ought to have been thrashed. That's what it is. Ugh. Jesuit Mahomet torment. She shook her fist at her son. You want a flogging, but I haven't the strength. They told me years ago when he was little, whip him. Whip him. I didn't heed them, sinful woman as I am, and now I'm suffering for it. Oh, you wait a bit. I'll flay you. Just you wait." The mamma shook her wet fist and went weeping into her lodger's room. The lodger, Yevty Kosmich Kupasarov, was sitting at his table, reading Dancing Self-Taught. Yevty Kuzmich was a man of intelligence and education. He spoke through his nose, washed with the soap the smell of which made everyone in the house sneeze, ate meat on fasting days, and was on the lookout for a bride of refined education, and so was considered the cleverest of the lodgers. He sang tenor. "My good friend," began the mamma, dissolving into tears, "if you would have the generosity, thrash my boy for me. Do me this favor. He's failed in his examination, the nuisance of a boy. Would you believe it? He's failed. I can't punish him through the weakness of my ill health. Thrash him for me if you'd be so obliging and considerate, Yevsey Kuzmich. Have regard for a sick woman." Kaporisov frowned and heaved a deep sigh through his nose. He thought a little, drummed on the table with his fingers, and sighing once more went to Vanya. "You are being taught, so to say," he began. "Being educated, being given a chance. You revolting young person, why have you done it?" He talked for a long time and made a regular speech. He alluded to silence, to light, and to darkness. "Yes, young person." When he had finished his speech, he took off his belt and took Vanya by the hand. "It's the only way to deal with you," he said. Vanya knelt down submissively and thrust his head between the lodger's knees. His prominent pink ears moved up and down against the lodger's new serge trousers with brown stripes on the outer seams. Vanya did not utter a single sound. At the family council in the evening, it was decided to send him into business.